anger and rage and stuff like that that really just kind of like peaked during like isolation, and you know, coming out now, it just feels better.
Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is Belgian Jasper. If this is your first time in the channel, hit subscribe right now. Brandan, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it. New single out, Rage. The first thing that jumps at us is the influence of the Phantom of the Opera that we see there. So let's start there for a second, because I know that, you know, all the music that you guys have done over the years, there's a lot of emotion, there's a lot of personal touches there. So the actual Phantom in Phantom of the Opera, bit of an anti-hero, hopeless romantic trying to make the world better, but also a narcissistic asshole that abducts and corrupts innocence. So where do you sit between those two?
That's kind of like me, pretty much. It's kind of weird, like, that song actually is about how you kind of fall into like certain like tendencies and certain patterns in life, and it kind of like drags you away from like your current situation, and then you kind of isolate yourself within those things, within those habits and stuff like that. And essentially that's kind of like what the Phantom did. He like hid away with all of his insecurities, and he isolated, but he also was wanting to break out and wanting to be noticed and wanting to be talked about and known about, right? So that's kind of how I felt during the COVID, like during like the lockdown and the pandemic. And I remember calling the song that, like, Phantom-ish, because it kind of was like that story, kind of was like him. So even before we like put that in the song, as far as like organ or whatever, there's still that correlation there between the two. But then when we started recording, Marta started playing, and I'm like, yeah, like kind of play it like, you know, the vibe's more like Phantom-ish kind of thing. And she's like, okay, and she played it, and I'm just like, you know, fucking leave it, right? Like,
it's recognizable. It's catchy to people.
Of course, and obviously it's a few of the same notes and stuff like that, which is, you know, whatever, and the way it's kind of played, but at the same time, it works into the story of the song, I feel like.
The bleeding through music has either been a weapon against or a way to deal with your inner struggles. And when you say, you know, that's kind of how I felt, and that had to come out, did the pandemic accelerate the need for new bleeding through music, or did everything get delayed still in some way, shape, or form?
It was really strange. Like, when the pandemic like took its hold and everything kind of shut down, we were just starting to like get on like more of like a regular show rotation. You know, went to Europe, played some festivals, went to the East Coast, played some shows there. We were starting to book more, and we had a lot of more stuff booked, like Mexico and the Midwest states, going back to Europe, all this stuff. And we felt like, okay, like it feels normal again, and it feels good. And then that happened, and it was like the uncertainty of not even knowing if we'll ever like play again. Like, who knows?
Right.
I mean, there was the possibility that there would never be live music ever again. I mean, that would never happen. People would find a way, but there was that possibility. Like, when is the pandemic going to be lifted? Is it going to be 5 years? It could be 10 years. And then by that time, it's like, we're so old, like, who fucking cares, right? And even this, like, you know, we had doubts that like, maybe we're too old to do this anymore. It's getting harder. But then when I realized within myself just how much like I missed that part of it, because what did the pandemic take away? It took away the two industries I'm part of, the music industry and the fitness industry.
Right.
And it left me feeling like, well, what the fuck am I? Like, I've thrown my whole life into like this stuff. Like, what am I without it? Right. And I was talking to Marta about like how I was feeling towards like possibly writing new music, and she just said, I will do this as long as you want to do this. Like, this means so much to me, and it means a lot more now, I feel like, than ever before. And it's weird because it's always meant, I'm just like an emotional like ball of mush. Like, I've always been very transparent with my emotions. It's like this music is therapy for me, for people that listen to us, and it's therapeutic for all of us together. But that was an emotional thing when she said, like, I'll do this as long as you want, because like, it wasn't just me that felt like we needed this part of our life again.
Yeah.
And now that we're able to do this again, we need to fucking do it.
Most artists tell me like, oh, I never read comments on my own stuff, but I know a lot of them do. And when I am reading through comments on your music, new videos, there's so many people that are sharing like, thank you for putting this out.
Yeah.
Like, this is helping me, through these struggles. Is that doesn't make the situation better necessarily, but is that in a way nice? And nice is the wrong word, I know, but is that in a way nice that you feel like you are helping people?
That, I mean, honestly, on a mental like health standpoint, which is mainly a big, for me, my whole career has been, such a big thing, connecting with people. That is validation.
Yeah.
Anytime someone says that they've felt like the music was helping them on an emotional level, or help them through something, that's what helped me, that's what helped me. Hardcore music helped me, feeling that a person was like connecting with, like, finding your inner struggle within their lyrics, which are purely about inner struggle, and kind of like putting yourself in that and feeling those words as if they're yours. And that's something that like got me through a lot of really, really tough moments, and still does. Like I still look at bands current and old for inspiration. I still throw myself within their lyrics and put my own scenarios in it, you know? Because I still listen to it like it's important to me, Totally one of the biggest, like, kind of pat on the back I've gotten like lately is, singer for Knocked Loose coming up and telling me, like, if it wasn't for Bleeding Through, that none of their band would happen. He loved the band and this and that. And I turned around and I told him, like, you know what, like, he was like, thank you for inspiring me. And I'm like, listen, when I was thinking about doing Bleeding Through again, this was in 2018 when we put out Level Kill All, like, I needed some inspiration. And 5 years away from like that industry, and even though I listened to bands, but I was looking for inspiration in the wrong thing, and I decided to dive back and look for inspiration within music. And Knocked Loose is one of those bands, and I told him, like, your band really helped inspire me to kind of do this music. So, and he was just like, what? Are you sure? I'm like, yes. Sure, you got the right guy? Yes, I'm sure I got the right guy.
You guys stood out from that wave of, let's call it early 2000s metalcore wave that came our way and kind of took over. You stood out for a number of reasons. And I know that a lot of people were at that time very much focused on, oh, there's a girl in the band, and lots of publicity around that. And which is funny, because I listened to your band before I saw any band picture, and what I thought was really cool was that ethereal kind of keyboard sound that was totally fresh. Because you heard it in like 90s black metal bands, but not in metalcore, right? So that was cool. But what for me made you guys stood out was I've seen you guys play a couple of times a long time ago. I think the first time I saw you play was at the Belgian Grass Pop Metal meeting. You guys played in one of the tents, and you were one of the few bands that the show was over, and the first thing you guys did was you left the stage, but not the backside. You went to the front, and I still have this is before digital cameras, right? I still have photos of, selfies before that was a thing. And you guys took your time and you connected with your fans. I saw you again in this on the tour with what was it, in 2009 with Machine Head and Hatebreed. Same thing, right? And so that connection with fans was clearly very important to you. And so
it is the most important. It is.
Yeah, that's awesome. Now, when you start to think about these things, because you said like, Marfa told you like, oh, as long as you want to do it, I'll do it with you.
Yeah.
It's been 23 years now.
Yeah.
Not to make you feel old or anything like that. You mentioned it yourself. My two passions are, bleeding through and your fitness. So
yeah,
is it in this weird scenario where you have to choose to save either rise above fitness or bleeding through? Is that possible, or you would just perish trying to choose between the two?
Fuck, I don't know if I could. They're both so important to me. I mean, I guess I chose Rise Above over Bleeding Through for a little while, but it was more like I kind of knew that Bleeding Through would never kind of like die. I just needed to focus all that energy on the Rise Above. I mean, if it was like something like this, where like it was like more fantastical and it was like the memory of whatever you don't choose dies, then I would choose Bleeding Through, because that memory needs to go on forever, right?
Yeah.
Rise Above, it's cool, but it's just really a fucking gym, you know?
Yeah. I think you posted on, I think it was Instagram, where you were kind of like teasing the fans a bit about like, hey, on this album that is now a classic or a vintage album, what song would you like us to re-record? Like, are you at this point now in your career where you start to look back a little bit and start taking a step back and look at it? So should we keep our fingers crossed for like the 25th anniversary best off?
Oh, for sure. Edition? Yeah, we're gonna do some stuff, man. Like, we wouldn't do that just to tease people, because like we might not get to it like right away, but like we have like about 12, 13 more songs written even after like, there's Rage, and then there's a couple more songs coming out to complete the EP. Yeah. And then after the EP, it's gonna be like, I think we'll probably do a cover or a re-recorded old song.
Okay.
And that's what we're going to do. We're going to kind of tally votes, and we're literally going to do the song. Whether we want to or not, we're going to re-record that song. Because I always look back, because whenever I get into doing a new record, I listen to like sounds of like current records.
Right.
And this one was just crazy, because I'm like, okay, like we're over 20 years old now. Like, we might have been like the trendsetters back in the day, and people used to probably consider us pretty technical and outrageous. And then I look back at like Fortune of the Gods, and I'm like, yeah, for the time, that was fucking crazy. Dust to Ashes, the first actual CD, that was crazy back then. Like, you couldn't tell me there was anything in our genre that sounded anything like that. Like, and it's like, so I'm like, okay, let's see where the ladder goes. Let's see how outrageous is like metalcore, the lineage of like through deathcore and this and that. How outrageous is it? What does things sound like now? I picked a few bands. It was like After the Burial was one of them. Thy Artist Murder was one of them, just for like sounds and stuff like that. And like, bands like, what other record I listened to? Like that Make Them Suffer record. And then I got into like more like, a little bit more extreme from there. And I'm kind of like, I finally get to like Lorna Shore record, right? And I'm just like, listening to this, like, shit. I'm like, and then I kind of just said to myself, I'm like, listen, we're not going to be able to shred anywhere close to these. No, and one of the most embarrassing things is when an old band still puts out records, and that like they're writing it and they're like, yeah, this is totally going to fucking rip. And it's totally just on par with what's going on. And then you hear it and you're like, dude, that's like, they shouldn't have fucking done that, right? That I don't want to be that band ever. So we just decided with these new songs, it's very straightforward, almost kind of like power chordish with leads. We're good with the leads, and we're good with the synth, and we're good with like keeping things heavy, right? And attacking. We're not going to try to like get all crazy. Everything now sounds, and this is so like old white hair trying to make this fucking claim, right? Everything fucking sounds the same. everything. As far as recordings go, not the bands, but the recordings are just like sonically the same. Everything's little differences here and there. And then I go listen back to like This Is Love, This Is Murderous, and I'm like, nothing sounds this bad anymore, right? If something was new that sounded like this, people would be like, oh, this is garbage. You know what I mean? So I do want to hear some of these older songs, and I think that our fans deserve to hear some of these older songs re-recorded with more of a modern bleeding through approach.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because those songs are way better live, which is good, but bad at the same time.
Okay, so here's a question for you that I want to ask you when you say that. Because you're right, songs evolve over time.
Yes.
And Bleeding Through today will play songs of, like, not even going all the way back to the start, but take an album like Declaration. Like, you'll play those songs today somewhat different. For you as the artist, the creator, what is the true soul, or what's the true version of a song? Is it the way that it was recorded in the studio, or is it the way that what it became?
I have to think that's probably the way that it was originally recorded, because that's when like your whole focus is into that, right? And it's like new, and it's kind of like you're playing for the person out the window that's looking at your recording. You know what I mean? Like there's more passion that goes into it.
Okay.
But not to say that it's not going to be just as much passion in the newer one, but I think the true version is the first version.
Go!
You've already also announced a couple of shows and festivals. What should all the fans watching this video keep their eyes open for?
Just more shows. Like our focus right now is, in a few weeks we'll release a couple more songs from the EP, and really just, we're trying to put together a regular show schedule and just keep your eyes open. But I will tell people that like we will never tour. Okay, so like if you're like somewhere in Europe and you're a 4-hour drive from a festival and we're playing that festival, don't anticipate us going on a tour and playing your town.
Like go to the festival.
Go while you can see it, because what happened last year is, we played the Netherlands, we played Germany, we played England, and some people said before like, oh, I thought you guys were gonna go on a tour afterwards, so I didn't go. And I'm like, we're just not at a point where we could take time away from like our other lives to go on a tour, like a long tour. I mean, we could do like a week here, a week there, that stuff, but so keep your eyes open for shows, and if you think you should go, you should probably go.
Awesome. Awesome. On that positive note, Brandan, I just want to say thank you so much. I had a lot of fun talking to you. I hope thanks for being so genuine and open with me. I really appreciate that.
No worries.
And yeah, man, I can't wait to hear the new music coming our way. And I'm also already getting pretty excited about the re-recorded classics. And,
me too, man.
I hear
that's
gonna be awesome.
I'm like, okay, we can change that and that, and it's gonna be rad.
Fantastic. Well, Brandan, have a wonderful rest of the day. I really appreciate it, and
Cool.
I hope that we can check in when you've got more music coming out.
Yeah, man. Let's talk soon. Thank you.
You are awesome for watching this video. Click right here to see more content like it and subscribe to the channel.